Hello everyone, this is the real Black Otaku. Here's a question for you. As an outsider looking in, what would you expect to see in anime? I assure you that most, if not all, will answer this with superpowers, giant robots, and explosions. While we are willing to argue that there are many anime that do not have any of these elements, we cannot deny that that is a large part of the medium as a whole. With that in mind, I'm going to be counting down my top 10 favorite fights in anime. And for me, the fight's not all about the action. The action is just the icing on the cake, whereas the cake itself is the emotion and the purpose behind the fight itself. And some good animation and music doesn't hurt either. Now, seeing as many of these fights are closer towards the end of their respective series, I'm going to have to give a quick spoiler warning. If you've not seen the series of which one of the fights takes place, feel free to skip. Today, I only have 3 honorable mentions. They are Pinocchio vs. Triella, Round 2 from Guns N' Girl Il Teatrino, Tsubaki vs. Masamune from Soul Eater, and Roy Mustang vs. Envy from Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. You can go to the honorable mentions video by clicking right here or in the link in the description. Number 10, Eve vs. Leon from Black Cat. A few episodes prior to this fight, one of Leon's old friends, Layla, requests to Eve to help bring Leon back to his old group of friends, to those who have treated him like family. Fast forward to the fight itself, and Eve and Leon actually make a deal that if Eve is able to beat Leon, he'd leave the Apostle of the Star and return to his friends. The fight itself was rather intense, and Eve came out victorious. But honestly, for all the minor fights that are going on in that episode, I'm surprised that this fight got as much attention as it did. However, it only makes number 10 because I would have liked it if it had more focus and wasn't interrupted by these little tidbits over here and there. Number 9, Rena vs. Keiji from Higurashi. To anyone who watches this fight out of context, it just seems like 2 people fighting on a roof, one with a baseball bat, the other with a hatchet, while strangely enough, they're making a bet of what would happen if one of them was to win. In all honesty, it kind of is. But there was a lot more to it. While the action itself was rather lackluster, the emotions were able to carry this fight. You see, this is about Keiji's attempt to bring Rena back from the madness that has been taking over here for the past few episodes. Even though the fight itself ended in a draw, Keiji won, seen as he was able to get that old Rena back. It was a great way to finish off the first season, and it was a perfect transition into Kai. Now, I can't imagine it happening any other way. Number 8, Eren vs. the Female Titan, Round 1 from Attack on Titan. For the past few episodes, the Female Titan has been plowing through rank after rank of its scouts in order to get to Eren. But Eren has faith in the rest of his squad to take her out on their own. This faith, in the end, not working out, seen as each one of them is cut down very quickly, forcing Eren to confront her himself. Now, we've seen Eren wreck Titan's Titan form a few times prior to this fight, but this is the first time we're able to see a Titan be able to hold its own in a one-on-one fight against Eren. Attack on Titan's amazing animation and music just add another level of awesome to this fight. It's got the action and the emotion, the animation and the music. Why is it on number 8? Well, the big thing is, Eren lost the fight. Now that's something I could accept, seeing as it can be an entry later in this list where the main character loses the fight. Rather brutally, I might add. But not only did Eren lose the fight, but Levi and Mikasa had to save his ass after he got himself eaten for the second time. Even so, it was still better than the second fight they had. I'll admit, when I first finished episode 24, I was hyped as shit for the fight to come. But in the end, it was anticlimactic, and with the exception of a possible introduction of a superpowered form, along the lines of Super Saiyan or Dragon Force, it was overall disappointing and was not worth the week-long wait. Either way, I look forward to another great fight like this once Season 2 starts airing, once they finally decide on when they're going to start airing it. Number 7, Kirito vs. Gleam Eyes from Sword Art Online. Long story short, Kirito and Asuna find the boss room for the Floor 74 boss. The small attack force, who's already out of breath at the time, tries to take on the boss on their own, which did not turn out so well, and Kirito and Asuna had to take action. Asuna, because she just really didn't want to see anyone die, and Kirito, again for that, and for the fact that he was still traumatized by what happened with Sachi about 1 year prior. Honestly, this would have just been another fight. A great fight at that, but just another fight. But it took a whole new meaning once Kirito first used the dual wielding skill. While not too important in the larger scheme of things, it just left me in awe of just the spectacle of what I had just witnessed. Well, Kirito's fight against Eugene in the Alpine arc, and Sinon's fight against Behemoth early Season 2 had some of the best action of the series. They lacked the emotional tension that I wanted. And while Kirito's rematch against Heathcliff does have that emotional tension along with the action, it just didn't have the same effect as this one did. Number 6, Asuka versus the Eva units from the end of Evangelion. It is common knowledge that Asuka has from the beginning saw herself to be the best of the 3 Evangelion pilots, 5 if you want to count Toji and Kaoru. But if you're like me, you just blew that off as her inflated ego talking. However, it was this fight that truly solidified her badassery for the majority of the viewers. With 9 units of the new Eva series descending upon her, and her umbilical cable severed about a minute or so prior, Asuka wastes no time as she begins to tear them apart one by one with what little time she has left. However, after taking a spear to the face and draining her Eva's internal power dry, the 9 Eva units got back up because apparently they didn't die when she killed them, as they flew back up and descended upon her again and started to tear her Eva apart like a pack of vultures. And if that wasn't dark and twisted enough, the 3rd impact kicked off just about immediately afterward. Despite a very brutal loss, this is a major defining moment for Asuka's character, or at least pre-rebuild, but I'll get into them soon enough. Number 5, Homura vs. Mami from Monica Magico Rebellion. As Homura begins to piece together what all is going on, she deduces that they are trapped in a witch's labyrinth, and thus started to question Bebe in order to get some answers, given her resemblance to the witch Charlotte. And then comes Mami to the rescue. It is this scene where many viewers say Rebellion first gets good, though I'd argue it'd be a couple scenes prior when Homura and Kyoko are trying to leave the city, but I digress. Also, seeing how well Mami was able to hold her own against Homura makes me question just how she was killed off so quickly in the series. Not only was she able to keep up with Homura, but she would have beaten her if Sokka didn't intervene when she did. This is without a doubt the best animated fight on this list, which really isn't saying that much since 1, it's from a feature-length movie, which usually have a better quality animation to begin with, 2, it's from Shaft, who've never let me down in regards to animation, and 3, the movie itself was released only a couple years ago. The only 2 entries that come close to this level of animation would be the entry from Attack on Titan, and the one that I'm going to list at number 2. Other than that, there was never any real competition to begin with. It had a good setup, great action, the amazing animation I've come to expect from Shaft, minus the over-the-top stylization that Shaft has become infamous for, and Yuki Kajiura doing her usual thing with the music. The only thing that's missing is emotional tension. Now, don't get me wrong, the tension was still there. Hell, these two have been at odds with each other ever since the series. But it's on the lower end of the scale compared to the other entries. Even so, you cannot deny that this is without a doubt one of the best fights in anime. And for that, I have it at number 5. Number 4, Colin vs. Zaku, Final Fight, from Code Geass R2. It is no secret these two have been at each other's throats ever since the beginning, and have fought each other several times on the battlefield since. It has all come down to this. There's not much to say about this fight, seeing that it is the shortest fight on this list. But the reason why it's on this list is because of just how much was built up for this, immediate and long term. When I first made this list almost 2 years ago, I actually had this fight at number 2, but I have since brought it down to number 4. Why is this? Well, 1, the entry I'm going to have at number 3, yeah, I've watched since then, but more importantly is the lack of focus. A lot of this was fought off screen and was cut up by bits from other characters. Now while these little bits were beneficial for the larger scheme of things, it was detrimental to this fight. Despite that, it had enough going for it to make it this high on this list. Number 3, Greeling vs. Fear King Bradley, Round 2, from Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. The final arc in Brotherhood had several great fights, including the Armstrongs fight against Sloth, the Alice fight against Pride and Kimberly, and I even considered putting the final fight against Father on this list. Why did I do that? I just felt that this one was a lot more personal. Just about everyone who played a major role in this fight had some sort of grudge against Bradley, whether it be personal or idealistic. You knew Bradley was a force to be reckoned with, seeing as he single-handedly took out at least 15 extras, including a tank, without taking any damage, using only a sword, a single grenade, and a shell generously provided by the aforementioned tank. And while Bradley had the upper hand for just about the entire fight, Greed, along with Old Man Fu and Captain Buccaneer, who jumped into the fray for a little bit, and were able to do enough damage to the point where he could not regenerate, allowing Scar to finish him off later on. On top of that, there are a couple of rather touching deaths as a result of this fight, in the forms of Old Man Fu and Captain Buccaneer. Both adaptations of the Fullmetal Alchemist had some great action, but I could only choose one fight to represent it on this list. And so I chose the second fight between the Homunculus Wrath and the second incarnation of Greed to be my number 3 on this list. Number 2, Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann versus the Anti-Spiral from Gurren Lagann. What is there to say about this fight? There's something about two giant mechs throwing galaxies at each other that just screams awesome. A level of awesome that no other anime has even come close to matching. Not only was the action very well done, but it was fought with purpose. The Anti-Spiral fought in order to exterminate all sentient life in order to preserve the universe, while Simo and the rest of Team Daiguren fought in order to defeat the Anti-Spiral and to stop this so-called spiral nemesis their own way. The almost seizure-inducing visuals just add a whole new level of epic to this fight, and is without a doubt Gainax's animation at its very best. The music was a great accompaniment, especially when Soda Ito Days kicked in closer to the end of the fight. No other anime has been able to match the scale of this fight. That is, unless you want to count the second Gurren Lagann movie with the introduction of Super Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann, but it doesn't have the same charm that the original finale had. This was a great way to finish off an equally great series, and it more than deserves to be this high on this list. But as unbelievable as it is, there's still one fight that I put even higher. Number 1, Natsu vs. Jalal from Fairy Tail. If you thought I'd go through this entire list without mentioning any Fairy Tail, then shame on you, because I actually praise this show's fights, not only for the action, but the purpose and the emotion behind them. I won't say much about this fight because I don't want to risk sounding like a rabid fanboy, but I will say that this is some of Fairy Tail's best action and emotion. While Natsu and Gajo's fight against Sting and Rogue, it was a top in action, and even Urza's fight against Ozma was a top in both action and emotion, there's one thing that puts this fight on top. I can describe it in 4 words. Motherfucking Dragon Force. That's right. This is the fight where we are introduced to the Dragon Slayer equivalent of Super Saiyan. And it was glorious. Well, yes, Dragon Force has appeared a few times since, including the before-mentioned fight between the first and third generations, and even 3 different Dragon Slayer fusions introduced, 2 in the reboot alone. But none of them had me in awe like this one. Then again, maybe later. This was the perfect conclusion to my favorite arc of the series. And it is my favorite fight in all of anime. Go and tell me down in the comments some of your favorite fights and your thoughts on the fights I mentioned here. Go to the Almonds video by clicking right here or in the description. Don't forget to like and subscribe, go check out my vlogging channel as the channel by clicking right here or in the description. Now keep an eye out for some new videos, because I am planning on putting out a lot in the next couple of weeks. I'll let you know more about that when the time comes. But until then, this is the real Black Talkie signing out. See ya.